Welcome to the Kahler Podcast, episode 11. This time we're going to be talking about bringing back a old Gibson Explorer from the 80s from the dead. But first, viewer comments. How you doing today, Gary?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Joe Capri 4564 says, "Hey, Gary and Eddie. I'll try not to make this long-winded. First, my hat's off to Gary. In my opinion, you are a legend. I am an engineer with a machinery manufacturer in central New York, and I can totally relate with all the processes and headaches you go through to make these bridges and the struggles that go along with the manufacturing in the USA. Thank you for being a made in the USA company. Second, I'm the same age as you, Eddie, and I've been a guitar nerd for as long as I can remember. I've been upgrading and rebuilding guitars since my early teens. I'm nowhere the level you are and maybe a couple steps above a hack. My first real decent build, I bought a Randy Rhoads V-body, ordered it routed for Kahler 2300, actually traded a guitar in for that bridge, new from a local music store. That bridge, in my opinion, was the best vibrato I've ever used. It was so fluid and the quality was superb. I never had tuning issues. I sold that guitar when I was in college when I needed the money. I've been chasing it back down ever since. I would love to have it back. Over the years, I have bought and sold many guitars, some with Floyds and knockoffs, some with fulcrum Kahlers, and I always felt the Kahlers were just far superior in quality. I would really love another guitar with cam-style Kahler. Hint, hint, Fender Strat giveaway. All right, now to my question. I have a Kahler Spyder and I want to do a build. I know a carpenter that will route out a guitar body for me. Do you have a template for the route? Is that something I could get in a CAD file? Do we have any kind of CAD file or anything?
No, we do not.
Nothing. Okay, so
No, we have something. We have a template.
we have a template for the Spyder?
No, we do not. Not for the Spyder.
Ah, yes.
Now, that was a trick question.
That was, I'm tricking you. It was very tricky. What I would recommend is maybe cut something out so that the block will sit through it and then have it flush somewhere, trace the thing out and just do it that way. That's the best advice I can offer you on that. That's what I do when I don't have a template. I wouldn't call anybody a hack that actually takes the time to do the best they can.
Well, I would like to say I wouldn't call him a hack either because of all the other stuff he said.
Oh, yeah.
That, he appreciates what we do. He has insight into what we do. That doesn't make us geniuses either. But the fact is, that's nice what he has to say about the 2300 and how he came about it and sold it and now maybe wants to do another one or a fulcrum or whatever. I definitely appreciate what he has to say.
The main thing that I'm going to say just about the Spyder is make sure that the body that you use is set up for a 37 millimeter block because that's the only size that the Spyder comes in. Boy, talk about being a hack. I got a guitar to put one of our new Spyders on. I mismeasured and now it's routed for a Spyder, but it takes a 32. So I'm going to have to go to Gary and say, will you please make me a custom thing? Jake Kiernan, 33, says, best episode so far. My dad and I listened to your podcast while we played darts every weekend, and we really enjoyed this one. We're probably listening right now. I would say if they're hearing it, they're listening right now.
I like it that they're showing darts.
I like it that they're doing like father-son stuff.
Yeah, well, that's great too. But throwing darts, where are they throwing darts at? A dartboard or?
I would hope so.
Yes.
I would hope so. Now, this is Jake the Snake who has that 5-string bass and he's mounted a sustainer to it and all kinds of other cool stuff.
Know. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to have Jake come in here and play one day. Him and his dad. It's a real father-son kind of thing. I
like it.
Yeah, it's real cool. Let's see. I'm going to butcher this name. Hamzam Henna. Oh, that's not so bad. Hamzam Henna 1422. There it is. The battle was lost, not the war. We are still here because Gary forgot about the left-handed.
What? What?
Gary, how could you forget about the left-handed?
I don't know. I'm left-handed. How could I forget about that?
How dare you? I wasn't even born when all this stuff happened. I just assume better marketing and cheaper products thanks to licensing, but I suppose I'm totally wrong, even though I tried to find an answer since I got my BC Rich with a hybrid around 2011. A friend of mine told me then that Kahlers are unbreakable, so it didn't make any sense to me why they are so rare. Kahlers hard to adjust? What? This must be a joke. Okay, the left-handed thing. You guys, one day, and again, not today, but one day we'll have Gary tell the story of why all this is here. All this stuff is here. The bridge, everything. It's all because Gary's left-handed. That's where it all started. It's a hell of a story. Not today, though.
Yep. Another day.
Another day. Let's see. Yeah, Kahlers hard to adjust. No, Kahlers are ridiculously easy to adjust, especially ever since you put that screw to make them fixed.
Yep.
So easy.
Well, didn't you do a video about that?
I did, but I'm going to do a much more thorough one because I haven't done a full setup on a cam bridge yet. Like,
yep.
Specifically, this video is about only setting up a cam bridge, but that's coming.
Well, let's get that out there.
Vegas Guitars. Hey, we know this guy. Nice work, guys. Wealth of valuable information here. By the way, one of the things our customers love the most about the Kahler locking nut is that it eliminates the need for a string retainer behind it. Also, recently, one of our loyal customers asked us to install stainless steel frets and a Kahler steeler with an auto latch on his brand new Eddie Van Halen guitar. After he played it for a couple weeks, he called and implored us to order 2 more steelers with auto latches for other instruments. The new steeler bridge, auto latch, and locking nut are really something special. There's a short video on our page. Showing the finished guitar.
We like Vegas Guitars, Neil and Susie.
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
they're great.
They really are. They are just fantastic. 2 of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I'm sure that a lot of people here know, but for those that don't, the Kahler locking nut is not the Kahler string lock. They're 2 completely different things. And then there's also the String Lock Pro. But the Kahler locking nut looks like a traditional locking nut, except it has a built-in string guide, and all the dimensions are different widths, heights, radiuses.
Well, it has what we call a string director, and it's based on poles that can pull around a pole rather than slide up into a V and then go out of tune when you tighten it. The most important thing is that particularly that it can be tightened down without going out of tune.
D-Rock 1779 says, listening to this makes me feel like the reason Kahler didn't win was less about the licensing itself and more about not getting onto enough instruments for people to know how they work properly. The rarity led to people setting them up incorrectly, believing they were bad. Actually, that has everything to do with licensing, because the reason that there are so few Kahlers on production guitars is because they're expensive, because they're not licensed, because they're made in the USA. And so everybody just get the cheap licensed stuff. And so, yeah, no, it's what you're saying is a direct result of no licenses. What do you say, Gary?
Well, let me say something about that. Yes, clear back when in the 80s, I chose to be a manufacturer and make my stuff in the USA. So that's what we did. And the Floyd Rose Group chose to license. Mm-hmm. And so in their licensing, they appointed many, many, many factories, probably well over 25, 30. I don't know exactly how many licenses they got. But then all those licenses run out after 17 to 20 years. Now we have all these licensed products out there that have no royalty to pay or anything. They're all tooled. And so they make this stuff in every foreign country you can think of. And therefore, the competition is into the dark hole about how cheap can we buy it as far as the OEMs are concerned, and how good can it be for the least amount of money. Well, that's what's going on. It has everything to do with licensing. because they had super distribution that way. And they made good money doing it, and that's the right to do it. But I chose to have a factory. Well, you can't compete with $2 an hour, wages of the people, and then a government that will put up all the money for tooling, and a government that will put up all the money for housing, pay for your machinery and everything else, as long as you just put people to work. Well, we're competing with governments, and what are we doing competing with the government of Korea and China and all the rest of them? The fact is, yes, it's damn cheaper, and there's a reason for that. Not only are they able to supply these pieces, but they have larger quantities. So anytime you make 1,000 of something in a run, and in some cases 10,000 in a run, that cost of that piece, it may be as low as a third of the cost if you were making 500 in a run. It's the same damn tooling, the same ideas, and they already got it sold before they ever make it. So there you go. And so we struggle as a U.S. company. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we're the only U.S. company left making hardware in this way. I mean, across the complete line of what we sell.
Yeah, exclusively.
Absolutely. And damn it, we want to put our people to work, keep them to work. I mean, I've got people that have worked with me here for over 40 years, and they have kids that are now working in the company, and they deserve to have a life. And what we're doing, we're squeezing off American manufacturing because, hey, in order to make a living, you got a couple of kids. I don't know how you can do it for less than $20 an hour. So there we are. We gotta pay the people, and if we're paying the people, we gotta charge more. It's as simple as that. We don't have governments paying for our stuff so that OEMs can buy them cheaper, so they can put that unit on their guitars. That's the bottom line of this, and it has everything to do with licensing, and that's just it.
There you go. So,
how'd you like that rant?
I'll tell you what, I like it. You didn't swear enough. You didn't swear at all.
I don't.
I'm a little disappointed.
Well, I know you're disappointed, but that's it.
So, long answer short, yes, no, licensing, that it had everything to do with it. You got to look at the cause and the effect. Cajun Boy 2K. God, I wonder if this is somebody that I know. Cajun Boy 2K, I think it would be cool if you all made a tremolo and a nut for a headless guitar. More than likely never going to happen. What do you
Probably not. That doesn't say forever. If somebody wants a custom job out there, we'll take a shot at it.
Now, I do just have to say this. We will have a podcast coming up very, very soon here on a bunch of different custom bridges that Gary just happens to be working on right now. But there's constantly somebody wants some custom thing, and we're happy to do it. There is an upcharge, because you take that time and it's got to be charged. The main thing to remember is that quantity dictates price. So if you want a one-off from us, it's going to be really expensive. And every time we decide to do something here, we have to weigh out, can we do this in a cost-effective way? And are people going to buy it, or are you just going to get something somewhere else because ours is too expensive?
Well, when we say it's very expensive, let me tell you something. We basically make no money on these things, on these custom jobs, because there is so much time involved. I mean, if you got to have prints, you got to have special parts, special everything, and then the first time the prototype doesn't work, so you got to make the changes, and you have to have all these emails in between and prints and everything else going on. Then finally you make the part, and then it has to be plated a certain way and so forth. And if you're only making one of them, you could screw it up in the plating, so you get to do it again. And it goes on and on and on. You can have thousands of bucks involved in this stuff. So what I try to do is to take what we already got. I know we're going to have a podcast later on this, on the parts that we have. And then we try to see how many of the parts that we have in our rectal set here that will work, and then we will modify the other parts to go with whatever that customer wants. Generally, it's me working in the middle of the night to get it done because I like to do it, and more than make money on it. It's exciting to me.
You have to just say he's not kidding. Yeah, middle of the night, mills running or any number of things. And I think that's part of the reason that we get along so good is because we basically both just continue working on this stuff until we drop from exhaustion.
You mean we actually get along? That's interesting. I think. Anyway, Eddie has his point of view and I have mine, and that's good. And then so we listen to everybody else's, and somewhere we get that troika figured out.
Yeah. Okay. No, it works out pretty well.
Yep, it does.
Eric Sanders, 5357. Got any red ones? Flyers, I mean.
Well, all I can say, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
And no, we don't have any red ones, but thanks for asking.
Cecil Music 8629 says, this one's going to be pretty embarrassing for me. Eddie, I told you the newer cams were flatter and not as rounded as the older ones several months ago. You told me no, it was an optical illusion. LOL. I didn't want to argue about it, but I knew what my eyes were seeing. Now you actually see what I did. I'm going to say that now I could have erased this comment, pretended that it never happened. Oh my God, I need to be infallible. But you know what? I'm a human being on planet Earth, and I make mistakes every now and then, and this was a mistake. Boy, not until we started working on the flyer conversions did I run into that interference, and then you actually told me, oh, hey, wait, I forgot to tell you. Our cams were different.
Yeah, well, don't lay that off on me. You know that I'm the bad guy here. Shit, I can't remember everything.
Well,
you have to ask the question, Eddie.
Well, I need to know the question before I can ask it.
Well,
you know what, though?
Whatever the hell that is.
Cecil, you are correct.
No, Cecil's correct.
I owe you an apology because you know what? I remembered this. The minute that I saw it, I was like, oh shit. Well, yeah, I did say that. And you know what? Yeah, no, it wasn't until I really, really, really started digging, and I must have spent, I don't know, an hour trying to figure out what in the heck is wrong. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, look at the way the old cam was. And,
well, anyway, it is what it is. And we found a solution to it, and that's what we'll do.
Yep, that's exactly right. That was our workaround. And that was the absolute last comment. So now what we're going to talk about is that guitar right there. That is a Gibson Designer Series Explorer. Do you remember those back about 84, 85?
Yeah, I do. I remember them, 84, 85.
Not all of them came with Kahlers, nope. But they all had, a I don't know, somewhere around 4 to 6 different graphics that they'd put on them.
Yep.
I have to admit, that particular graphic never caught my eye. What I've said about that thing since the first day I saw it is that it reminds me of wallpaper on the Playboy Mansion, maybe back in the late 70s, early 80s.
So what are we going to do with that?
Well, we are going to put a 2200 on it. In fact, this one right here, actually, I use 2200 as just a blanket term. This one actually is kind of a reverse Kerry King. It's a brass cam with steel rollers. What's the call out on that one?
I don't remember the exact number.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Well, just read the description. You'll figure it out.
This particular 2200 is it's a lot like the original 500 Gibson bridges, although they are different. Why don't you tell us exactly what the big difference
is? Okay, so
is?
the early 80s, the one that is bright chrome right there, you'll see that it has springs on it and intonation bolts, which was pretty standard at the time. I mean, that's about what everybody was using. And we had not developed the new lockdown saddle set yet, which the gold one has. So we went with the best technology we could at the time, even put tracks in it so that the little 440 intonators, 2 of them per saddle there, would not slide from left to right. Now, they could tip if you were an aggressive bender, but on the other hand, we could do that. There's other things going on with that plate that if you didn't get the route in exactly the correct place, you can adjust it with the 1032s in the back and move it forward or backward for overall intonating in or out, frontwards or backwards, however you want to call that. But the big thing is the saddle set. About a year and a half later, we came up with a lockdown saddle set there on the gold one. What we're trying to show is the evolution. That was the first 500 we ever sold, and thank God they bought them because they needed the money. God, what is that, 35, 40 years later?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be, 42 years. Now, yeah. 40 years. Let's see, 83, 41 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, you're going to make this new Gibson look really up to date.
Oh, yeah.
And show all of the evolution that has taken place. Also, I might point out that saddle set is adjustable left to right, where the chrome one was not.
There are a couple other little differences that I noticed. The fine tuners are a little different. They're flatter on the Gibson. It's got a 3-hole cam instead of 5-hole.
That's right.
And then, of course, a real big one is no lockdown on the back of the Gibson. Kahler cam bridges are actually 3 bridges in one. Depending on what springs you have on them, they're either stiff like a fulcrum or they're nice and light as they're supposed to feel, or you can lock them and it's a fixed bridge.
Yep.
And you can still take advantage of swapping out a steel cam or a brass cam or whatever. If you, let's say, want to swap out your cam, okay, or you want to change the springs or something like that, you don't have to do anything with the saddles. They're already intonated, so you can pull out the springs, pull off the cam, whatever you want to do, put it back on, replace the thing, and as long as you don't touch the saddles, they're still intonated.
We use 5-hole cam, and let's make sure people understand that the holes across that's for a left-hander.
Wait. That guy said that you forgot about the left-handed people.
I didn't, because I'm left-handed. I made that special for all left-handers out there in the world. The only thing you have to have different is a left-handed arm. So
yeah, you do.
You got to let us know that you're left-handed. We'll send you a left-handed arm. If you want that hard fulcrum feel, we do have a 1/4-inch arm that has a reduction to a 1032. So if you want to have heavy springs and you want it to feel like a fulcrum, you can do that.
Well, I feel like we're repeating a lot of stuff from the Flyer episode, but yeah, we're putting together a double neck just so that people can really, really see the difference between a traditional Kahler and the 3 things that you can do to make it feel more like a fulcrum. And those 3 things are the heavy bar, the heavy springs, and the Kahler locking nut. Those 3 things will really make a big difference. But the thing that makes the least difference is the locking nut. The biggest difference is the springs. And then, I would say right in the middle would be the bar. But the locking nut itself, it doesn't make the difference that people would think it does.
Remember when that chrome, when they first come out, we only had a string lock behind the nut.
Yes, in fact, now this is wildly different, and what a great opportunity to talk about it. We'll probably never get this opportunity again. My apologies for not having a traditional string lock, but you know what? We have the String Lock Pro because that's what's going to go on that Gibson there. But the original string lock, well, you had a lot of problems with that.
Oh, that original string lock is the best we come up with at the time. And that's kind of what other people were looking at. there's some real innovation in that original string lock, in that we had a special fastener made on the top that had fiber on the end of it, so that it wouldn't be steel on steel and cut your 8 or 9 string.
Right.
So, and we thought, man, that is a real invention. But the fact is, when you went to tighten that screw down, I think it's an 832, when you went to tighten it down, everything would go sharp because it's still going to turn the string and sharpen it. Then you have to retune and everything else, let alone when the composite, the fiber on the end of it went out, it started cutting the strings.
Right.
But at the time, that was the big deal. And we milled every damn one of those. And then we had to work towards putting pads in there that would squeeze the string and hold it rather than lock it down with a fastener. Because I think everybody who listens to this podcast knows that now. But in the beginning, we didn't know that.
There are two things about the original string lock that I find very, very interesting. And I don't know if you've ever given this any thought at all. Maybe. The first thing is that the way you have the E's offset like that reminds me a lot of the very first run of the Rockinger. Because of the way that it was, they had to offset 2 of those holes. There is one other thing about this particular string lock that I'm almost afraid to mention it. 360 half hard brass, right?
Yeah.
Milled piece. The string lock that came with the Washburn Wonder Bar, very similar. It's cast. So,
all they did was probably take one of our stuff and give it to the engineer and said, let's inject it with zinc or whatever the hell it's going to be. Yeah. And then I'd like to see that fastener hold up in those threads when you crank down on them.
Well,
and I'm glad they did that, because that lock was the first one that we ever made.
Right.
And then it's copied just like the bridges were then. And the damn thing really doesn't work. It had to be an evolution to come ahead. And so then we came up with the pads. First of all, it gave it better angle for the strings. The strings would go in at an angle, come out at an angle, and it would not clip the string. It really wouldn't, because it's squeezed between 2 pads. So the evolution from that, my God, how old is that? 38 years old?
It's
40 years old, whatever it is.
40 years old.
Anyway, that's what it was like in the beginning.
You say you'd want to see how one of those things will hold up. I actually, on my Wonder Bar equipped guitar, the entire reason I know that it's some lesser material, probably zinc, is because
it has to be zinc.
Yeah, the high E on mine just shattered one day.
We're talking about ancient history here, as far as I'm concerned. And just get the new stuff. Get the string locks we have, and the benefit from a string lock saying to a locking nut is that the string lock is more variable. And you can put it behind the nut that's already on there.
The only reason that I got the inferior Washburn piece was because, trying to have a representation of as many different things as possible, because in order to make really good stuff, you have to be familiar with everybody's stuff, be it good or bad. There is one other thing about this particular string lock. You actually have room here for the truss rod cover, and on the newer ones, you don't. Was that just like that's a space thing? We can't fit it in there?
I don't even remember why we did that, but there was a good reason for it. You surprised me with that.
I ask the probing questions.
Probing
questions. That sounded good anyway, right? So anyway, that's what we're going to do here. I am upgrading that guitar hanging on the wall right now. The electronics have already been done, and we're bringing this thing all the way into the future while leaving it beat up looking. There's something that I just really love about all brand new parts on an old beat up neck and body. It just, I don't know. There's just something about it I really like.
There's one thing we haven't mentioned, and that's
What's
the
that?
studs you see there.
Oh,
These are little lockdown studs, and by God, that makes a big difference.
you are not kidding. That's actually something that, those are locking studs on there too. I made absolute certain, and you could be like, I don't want a Kahler at all, but I want locking studs for my Gibson or my Epiphone or whatever you may have, and those locking studs are fantastic. I've used them all. I don't want to say anything against a different company, but the most popular version of locking studs is the one I like the least.
They are what they are. Ours, I concentrate on what we make here. That is pure brass, every single part in there. You can adjust that bridge in a maxim, forward or rearward, to best fit the route. And then you can take these studs and lock that damn thing down so it's not going to move.
Even on a hardtail, when you've got studs that have a lot of slop in them, then that moves around not near as much. Depending on how cheaply the tailpiece is made, you can see them being yanked at a fairly extreme angle, and they should look flat when you look at them. The Les Paul that I put a Kahler on, it's got the locking studs too, and man, that thing is it's rock solid. I absolutely love it. There's just one other thing I'd like to mention real quick. We are gonna try something new here, and what that is that guitar will be the guitar that we use to do the setup video for the 2200, which also is the 7200. But when I got that guitar, it was just the neck, the body, and the old string lock. That was it. Nothing else. No tuners, no electronics, no nothing. I really went crazy with the electronics because that's something that I do, and that will actually be on the Rexylab channel because it has nothing to do with the bridge. So if you guys want to watch the evolution of that, it'll be on there. But anything that I do over there, if it's in tandem with the Kahler stuff, it's to support what we're doing here. And then sometimes I'll do something over there that just has nothing to do with guitar bridges at all.
Yeah, like talking about somebody else's guitar bridge. And that's okay, because what we're trying to do, we're a part of this industry like everybody else is. And so we try to the pros and the cons of what these bridges are. Now, we don't discuss everybody else's bridge on the Kahler channel. However, that's what you were doing before you ever came here.
Absolutely.
And so we've made a decision that you should carry on with that, the good and the bad, you know? And so what we're trying to do as an American company is to stay as an American company and keep our people working. That's basically it. Yes, you pay more, but we have damn good service too. And now I know once in a while we'll screw up and make, but let me tell you something. That's about 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40, 1 out of 50 now and then, and we take care of it. You can actually talk to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and there's only one way to not make any mistakes, and that's to never do anything.
Never do anything. Don't spend any money. Keep your money.
Yeah.
And then have all the people offshore do your work for you. We don't do that. We're doing it right here.
To know what's good and to be able to improve upon your product, you have to know what everybody else is doing. So,
well, and why they're doing it.
And why they're doing it.
And because those features and benefits and the proof of that, both in the manufacturing process as well as the service, that's a big job. We keep people busy here.
Oh, boy, do we ever.
And just the customer service. We do that. Now, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to complain about something. And if you want to, write us an email about it. I want to know about it. And I know damn well that Eddie wants to know about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So let us know. And once in a while, we'll get an email like that. We had one last night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
And you're going to be answering this guy today.
As soon as the podcast is over, it's time for me to put on the customer service hat and start doing that. But that is a big part of what you get when you pay a little extra for a Kahler, but you get that customer service.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place to stop. So until next time, I've been Eddie Kernan.
And I'm Gary Kahler, and I want to thank you for watching the podcast.
All right, see you next week, everyone.
You bet.